Okay, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and it feels like it's been a while since I've done a commentary like this, but I decided to for some reason. I had a topic that I wanted to speak about, so I decided to get behind the mic instead of getting behind the camera, even though, well, in front of the camera, technically, even though I got that new camera, but trust me, I'll get on there because this, the No Shave November, it's happening here, okay? It's happening. Anyways, what I want to talk about, well, if you're reading the title of the video, I want to talk about burning games next generation, burning backups, making backups, whatever you want to call it, honestly. Now, what's going to be of it next generation? Now, technically, you could say the next generation is here. You know, PC parts are definitely powerful enough. PCs are always at least a few generations ahead of consoles. The Wii U is out. That's technically a next-gen system. However, I'm really not ushering in the true, you know, quote-unquote next-gen until the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One are out. When they are out, that is when I'll say, you know, next-gen is actually here, which right now is going to be less than a week for the PS4 and less than 2 weeks for the Xbox One, unless you are one of those lucky people who managed to get an Xbox One early because Target screwed up their shipping things. Yes, that did happen. That's a whole nother thing. But anyways, I remember about a year ago, a few people had asked me about this, and they're asking, you know, with the next generation systems, what do I think is going to happen with burning? Do you think that, you know, we're going to be burning Blu-rays for our games? What are we going to be doing? Honestly, I'll put it like this. Look at this generation. Now, this generation of consoles started in 2005 with the Xbox 360. Technically, if you want to use, you know, my logic, 2006 is where it, you know, was officially out in the wild with the releases of the Wii and the PlayStation 3. Now, the Xbox 360 was hacked up from the beginning to have the DVD drive flashed, which could, you know, allow you to play burned games and everything, which is what I've covered primarily on my channel. I've done a lot of content like that, as most of you subscribers know who are watching this video. Now, along with the Wii, that was one of the first things that happened. Technically, there were mod chips for the Wii, but there were, you know, mod chips, and then some people called them drive chips, and essentially what they did was you would have to take a drive chip, whatever you wanted to call it, and you'd either have to, you know, plop it in, or you have to solder it on, because there were soldered and solderless chips, and then it would allow your Wii's DVD drive to run burned games, and also it could run CDs and DVD movies as well, which wasn't really recommended, but you know, hey, it could do it. Then with the PS3, if you look at that, that is the only console this generation we never burned anything for. Right off the bat, custom firmware was made. After custom firmware was made, people started working on, you know, third-party tools, unsigned code and all that, and they started, you know, making game loaders and all that, which would allow you to run games off your internal or external drives. So nobody ever burns Blu-rays. Like, no, well, people do, but nobody burns Blu-ray games for the PS3. That is the only console this generation where we didn't burn anything for it. Now let's look at something else. ODEs, ODDEs, whatever you want to call them, they are called optical disc drive emulators, and several of you have probably heard of them. If you're on the PS3, then you know there's the Cobra out there, there's the 3 key. If you're on the Xbox, there was the Wasabi, which really is not heard of too much now, and that's a whole nother thing. But in short, there's the X key and the Wasabi 360 out on the 360. The reason why the Wasabi is not that popular is because it's really finicky to work with. And one big thing is that with the X key, it doesn't matter. Like, it's more open. Sometimes it could be a bit tricky to set up, but once you set it up, you're golden. While it's with the Wasabi, it's really picky. And then one thing that a lot of people didn't like is that with the Wasabi, you have to have a stock firmware on your DVD drive, and you have to have a DVD drive plugged into your console. While the X key, you really don't need a DVD drive. And if you do have one, you can put custom firmware on there, you can put stock, whatever you want to do. It doesn't matter. Then finally for the Wii, I didn't look into this too much, but just from floating around, and the Wii, it was popular at first with this because we had burning on there, and then there was the Wii key as well. So, you know, the developers of the Key series have worked on all 3 consoles, and it is a great device, but the reason why it's really not that sought after or used now is because it is so easy to mod up the Wii. If you have the latest system update, all you need to do, there's like 6 games out there that are exploitable. If you don't want to use a disc, you can use a diskless exploit, and within about 10 to 20 minutes, you could soft mod your Wii. From there, you can go ahead, install files and all that, which will allow you to run, you know, games off disk, burn games off a disk. If you have a newer drive that does not allow you to do that, then you could just get a USB loader and you could do the same thing with that, except even better, because you're not going to be using disks in your system and everything will load faster and all that good stuff. So all you need is a USB device for that and you'll be good to go. That was the whole rundown of everything this generation. So looking back on that, you can see, why am I bringing this up? Well, ODEs, they're popular. Enough said. The Wii was pretty much based around that. The PS3, you can pretty much say, that was kind of based around it too, except, ODEs didn't come later into the game, and unfortunately, they haven't really showed up on the PS3 until the past year and a half, which in my opinion is way too late in the cycle for it. And then the X key has been around for a bit, and there was actually some controversy with it at first because C4EVA, the guy who does the custom firmware for Xbox 360 drives, was originally saying, oh, X key will get you banned. X key is just an expensive way to get banned and all this stuff. And he was bad-mouthing it a bit. Well, he only bad-mouthed it about 2 or 3 times, and then the people who, worship C4EVA and, think of him as, like, the biblical writer of Xbox 360 drive hacks and all that, ended up saying, X key is terrible, it will get you banned and all that, but if you look back on it now, there's really no one who's getting banned for X keys. I mean, a handful here and there, but there's also still people who, have gotten banned for the same thing with hacking up their drives. Maybe not specifically hacking up their drives, but it could be, for loading up a bad ISO or a bad patches, anything like that. Just had to think about that right there. Anyways, what I'm trying to say here is ODEs, as I said, are popular, but I feel like they got popular too late into this generation. While the Wii key came out quite early, if you look at it, it's a lot more practical and cheaper just to soft mod your Wii. Especially since, well, now I don't even think Nintendo is supporting the Wii online anymore. But when they were supporting it online, if you got banned, literally, I kid you not, if you called up Nintendo and gave them your system info and apologized to them, you could get your Wii unbanned. I'm not kidding. That's how it worked. That is how it worked. I'm not making that up. But going into this gen, we already have there's been development of, a Wii U key out there. Now, it's not being sold yet, unfortunately, but, people have reverse engineered the system, and they said pretty much it is running pretty much parallel to the other consoles of this generation, the PS3 and the 360, saying that the drive on there utilizes a DVD key, or Blu-ray key, I guess you could say, which is married then to the motherboard, and it corresponds to it and all that, so you have to dump that key off there, and then, you could do all the setup stuff and get your Wii U key running. Now, when it comes to price, that is, I don't know, that'll be a tough entry factor for people. That's the problem. A bunch of people were saying, oh, well, I'd rather just burn my games this generation, just due to the fact that, I can get, like, a 50-pack of verbatims for a little less than $50. While as with, I'm going to use the X key as an example, there is a higher entry cost to that. In my opinion, I'm just throwing this out there, if you're wanting to install one and you're still planning on using your Xbox, but you have one, I'd really recommend it. Mainly due to the fact that it's like this. The device itself is a little less than $100. Then getting a decent hard drive, that'll be about another $100. Yeah, something like that. So, for less than $200, you'll have that set up, you don't need to burn anything, and you're good to go. Now, people have asked me the reason why I don't have one, or don't own one, or have no interest in one is because I have multiple systems. I don't just game on one system. I utilize multiple systems. So for me, burning is more practical. Burning my backups is more practical than, getting an X key for every single system and even just sharing the hard drive. Especially since we're at the end of this generation. It's definitely not something I'd be wanting to do. But if you have one system that you primarily play on, I definitely recommend it. Now, hopping back into next gen, and I apologize I'm hopping everywhere with this commentary, but this is just how my thinking process is working right now. It might be because of the coffee, I'm not 100% sure, but I can guarantee it's that a little bit. People were thinking that burning Blu-rays is way too expensive. Now, it's really not. I have a Blu-ray burner in my computer right now, and I could say I think I got, when I got it, this was over a year ago, I got the burner with about 20 or 25 Blu-rays for a little less than $100, and I'm looking on Newegg right now. Right now, you could get a Blu-ray burner for as little as $65, and you could get, let's see, I can get single layer verbatims, a 25 pack of them for $31 with $2 shipping, Or if you want to go cheap a little bit, but you want to get dual layers, so we're talking about 50 gigabytes right here, they are having, where were they? Here they are, optical quantums, 50 gigabytes, and it's a 50 pack of them, and they're $50. So that's about as much as verbatims cost right now in DVD format. That's not that expensive. Here's the problem though, from what I see. I don't think that burning is really going to be that relevant next generation when it comes to modding, when it comes to opening up these systems. I just don't see a future for it. If we are burning games next generation, it is possible, but if we are, I feel like it's going to just be short-lived, if anything. I don't think it's going to continue for years and years on end like it has with the 360 scene. And if you really think about it, the 360 scene is really the only scene out there that is still burning games. PS3, they never burn games. The Wii scene, most of the people there they have soft modded or hard modded Wiis, and they might burn games here and there, but most people who have Wiis just load them onto external drives and play them from there. So if you're primarily on Xbox and you're burning your backups and all that, you're kind of the black sheep of the bunch technically. So with this, I'm saying that it is possible we could see burning next generation, but I really would not get your hopes up for it. Which this is good, honestly. I think it's good because I would like to go ODE on my system. I think that would be cool. And yes, I will be taking the opportunities to start modding my systems when I can. I am a bit excited about that. And also, I'd like to show this picture. This is a picture of the Xbox One from Wire.com. And look at all that space behind the Blu-ray burner. Look at that player, excuse me. But look at that right there. Look at all that space. Look at all that space. There's plenty of room right there to put an X key in there. Look at that. You cannot tell me that you don't want an X key in there. Look at all that space. They have so much room to work with when this system comes out. The final thing I want to talk about on this, it's kind of related. We've talked about ODEs. We've talked about burning. What about custom firmware next generation? What are we going to see? Honestly, I will put it like this. I'm not saying it's impossible. I think it will be very possible with time, because these systems are really going to be locked down and the security is really going to be boosted compared to this generation. But I don't see that much of a future for custom firmware on these systems either. Now, yes, I believe it will be possible, but I feel like we're just going to have to, if we want to do third-party support, run unsigned code on these systems, we're going to have to do hard mods on them, just like the Xbox did, with what, reset glitch chips, JTAG exploits, RJTAG chips, anything like that. I feel like that's going to be more of the way to do it. Mainly with these systems being connected all the time, being so relied on with updates. Because honestly, I can imagine this happening. The reason why I don't got my hopes up for this is because since these systems will be connected all the time, because most people who are going to be buying these systems are going to be keeping them connected online. Let's say an update goes out to patch some type of exploit, some type of system exploit that can let you run unsigned code, flash over custom firmware like straight from a USB device, if you could do anything like that. I feel like this might be the Chromecast. Now, if you don't have the Chromecast or you don't know what it is, it's this really awesome little $35 HDMI dongle that plugs into a TV, and then you can connect it to your wireless network, and from there you can run Netflix, Google applications on there, YouTube, anything like that. You can just beam them over. The cool thing about that is, which annoys developers, but at the same time the cool thing about it is, if you keep it connected, if you keep it on, as long as it has power to it, it can update right there. So if Google pushes out an update, the update will go straight to your Chromecast, even if you haven't turned on for a week or two. As long as it is connected to a TV in standby mode, and it is still connected to your wireless connection. I feel like that's going to be really, really easy to do next generation. With the Wii, I'm not 100% sure on that, but Microsoft has done it before. They've pushed out silent updates, and with all the power Sony has, I know they can do it. So if an exploit like that gets out, all they have to do is push over an update. They don't even have to prompt you for anything. As long as your system is somehow connected, it can accept that update and it's patched. So it's really going to be a big cat and mouse game this generation. Well, yeah, this coming generation. But in short, I would still love to see third-party unsigned code running on there, because, I mean, look at these systems. Look at the specs on these new systems. You can't tell me you wouldn't want to see, some awesome emulators or anything like that on there. But I feel like it's going to take longer to get third-party code running. But first, if anything, I think we're going to be seeing ODEs first. And if we do start burning Blu-rays, which I just don't see a future for, as I said, it will be cool, but I feel like it's going to be really short-lived this generation, if it happens. Anyways, that's my thought process on the whole thing. Thank you for sitting through this commentary. I love you all if you sat through it, and I hope I didn't put you all to sleep. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.